Ready? All right, so you just began your last unit. You were working with multiplying and dividing decimals. So talk to me and tell me a little bit about your scholars as a whole.
Well, my scholars enjoy math. Most of them are fluent in their basic multiplication skills. With the multiplying and dividing decimals, they were able to do it, like as far as like doing the basic algorithm, they were able to do that, but they struggled with applying it to word problems.
Okay. I was going to ask you about their weakness, or should I say their challenges, but you just answered that. So you said basically they're pretty good in their basic math facts, but they struggle when it comes to the application part as well as applying things with word problems.
Right.
Okay. So the reason I asked you about this is because now we're getting ready to set our goal, and we're going to set our goal based upon our standards, and we're getting ready to move to the next unit. So before we do that, we have to establish learning targets. We're also going to craft a pre-test, sort the data, select the target, plan our lesson, and co-teach. So starting with selecting a goal, let's log into our curriculum and review our standards and take it from there. So I know that you're working on Unit 3, so tell me, what is your goal? As you look over this, what do you want your overall goal to be as you work with this particular unit?
I want them to be able to apply what they know about fractions and mixed numbers in order to solve real-world problems.
There you go. So once again, you want them to be able to take the skill and make it applicable.
Right.
Even though we know they struggle with applying those skills in the last unit, we're just going to continue to build on that. Okay, what's the focus standards for this unit?
So solve problems involving addition and subtraction of fractions and mixed numbers with unlike denominators and justify the solution. That's NFB 6.
Okay.
Extend the concept of multiplication to multiply a fraction or a whole number by a fraction. That's NFB 7.
Okay.
Calculate and interpret the product of two fractions less than 1. That's an extension of NFB 7. And extend the concept of division to divide unit fractions and whole numbers by using visual fraction models and equations.
Okay, was that it?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, all right, so you listed about 4 of those about the priority standards and what you selected from that. But when you look at that, when you think about the focus of this unit, I want the big takeaway picture. When you finish this, what is it that you want your kids to be able to know? What is it you want them to be able to do and understand as a result of this unit? And before you answer that question, take a little moment to go back and look over the standards.
I guess I want them to be able to understand how fractions, decimals, and whole numbers relate and how it applies to other mathematical practices, I guess.
Talk to me a little bit more about that.
So where can you see it in the real world? How are you going to use it in real life? All of those types of things. But seeing that the fraction is kind of an extension of decimals and another extension of whole numbers, and how it all relates and goes together when you're using it in the real world.
Okay, so you're just going to connect and once again build upon where you left off at and continue to take it on. Okay, so if you had to wrap this up and go over with your learning target. So better yet, we just finished talking about our goal. How do you feel about that, selecting it as a goal? Are you comfortable with that? Does it feel right to you?
Yes. Because I think if they're able to find meaning with how they can use it in real life, they'll be able to connect with it better.
Okay. Which is an area in which we will get further into more as we start to plan our lessons and carry that next step out. Okay, so now let's look at our targets. Okay, Now, we just finished talking about what we want our students to know, to be able to understand, and what we want them to do. How is the target going to be related to our goal and the standards that support it?
So when you say target,
Mm-hmm.
the target related to our goal
Mm-hmm.
and the standards.
So you want to look at what are some things in which you want the students to be able to do as a result of this lesson. You got your overall goal. You want them
Right.
to be able to apply these situations
Mhm.
to real world applications. Now, if you break down what are some things in which the students you want them to be able to do in order to reach that goal.
Okay, so like the I can't statements, right?
Correct.
Okay, so
Think about our goal, and when you select, because we have a long list of I can
Mhm.
statements, of course
Right.
we're not going to hit all of those.
Mhm.
So we're just going to get those and hopefully try to get those that are aligned more into the goal that you've selected.
Okay, so how about this one? I can solve problems involving addition and subtraction of fractions and mixed numbers with unlike denominators and justify the solution.
Okay. Does it apply to the goal?
Well, I
I'm
think
just
so.
asking. I'm just asking. I mean, you're selecting these
I think
targets. I
so.
just want to work with you in selecting them. So if
Mhm.
it aligns in there, we can accept it. So you say that does?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. And what's another one? So which one was that one? what?
S2.
S2. Oh, okay.
Um,
Any target that relates back to our goal. Or the standards that support it. Those are the ones on which we're going to be focusing in on.
well, what do you think about this one? I can recognize the relationship between multiplying fractions and finding the areas of rectangles with fractional side lengths.
Would they apply that in everyday life?
It could be a problem where it's related to like a room, like they're doing a measurement of a room.
So is it applicable to real life?
I think so.
Okay. Now go back to our goal. Does it line up into our goal?
Being able to solve real. Mm-hmm.
Okay. So we can take that then. Which number is that?
Where'd it go? S4.
S4. Okay, we're on the road. We got 2. What else we got?
I guess. I think, well, this one's kind of like a general one. I could
When you say
perform
this one, which one is this one?
S1. I'm looking at
Okay.
that one. So I can perform operations and solve problems with fractions and decimals. That kind of puts the multiplying, addition, dividing, all of that in a whole. So I feel like I should focus on S1. I still want to stay with S4 and then find one where it kind of focuses on maybe applying it.
So you say S1, correct?
Mm-hmm.
And if I look at the overall goal of that, number, sense, and operations and fractions, which is addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division of fractions,
Mhm.
would that align with that goal?
Mm-hmm.
So I say we can use that one as well. Okay. You got one more?
Mm. I'm struggling with another one.
Okay, well, let's look at it. Let me join you in the struggle. Which one?
I don't know. I was looking at maybe S8 or S9. Maybe, well, then S7, but it talks about using visual fraction models and equations.
Okay. What are your thoughts about that?
I'm trying to think, is this going to tie back to my goal? Like, I know I'm going to use that to teach them and everything, but is this one of my main learning targets that like goes back to the goal?
Okay.
Or is it just something that's going to just help me along the way?
I think it's something that's going to help you along the way.
Mm-hmm.
See which one we have. 1 minute. I was going to say S4, but we already have that. I just looked back at that, so we have that one. Okay, let's see. We have S2, correct?
Mm-hmm. Okay, what about S5? I can calculate and interpret the product of a fraction. So I guess finding meaning in what that product might represent. So
would that be meaning? Would that be important?
I think so. If you're using a word problem, because you're able to calculate, but you have to have an understanding of what the product represents.
Okay. Now, so let's look at S1 right quick.
But what about S8 too? Because then
S8?
it said the same thing, but it's just for the quotient.
Okay.
Well, S9 do too. Maybe just do S9.
S9?
Which one? S8 or S9?
Well, we're working with this together, so I want it to be something, I don't want it to be just my goal. I want it to be something in which you're comfortable with.
We unit fraction by a non-zero whole number. And then that one says calculate the quotient of a whole number by a unit fraction.
And think in mind of the overall goal. And you're dealing with the 4 operations, so which one do you think would be more beneficial? Or do you think we can have both of them? It's 8 and 9.
Yeah.
Okay. Because I think they're going to bounce off each other. So. Okay. Now, when you look at your targets on which you select, S1, S2, S4, S5, S8, and S9. I want you to look at them and tell me, are they written in kid-friendly language?
I think so.
Okay, so that would be a yes. Does the target focus on learning as opposed to just doing a task or activity?
So when you say task, like them saying I can calculate, would that be considered a task, or is that a part of learning?
You want them to get the understanding, or are you giving them something that's more so something to keep them busy, like an activity or something to do? Or is it something that's going to relate to the thinking and the process of understanding?
Yeah.
And something which they can explain and be able to apply it. Okay. Can we measure our target?
Well, yeah, it could be measurable, but it's not like stated in the I can statement.
Okay. But you're going to find ways of, okay.
Right.
We got to be able to demonstrate that student understanding. How would you describe our learning targets? So we have about 5 or 6 learning targets. How would you describe them? If you had to come up with an adjective to describe your learning targets. Strenuous. And I'm glad you said that, because my next question was, would you describe them as rigorous?
I would say yes.
Okay. Why would you describe them as rigorous?
Because some of them are asking them to interpret, so find meaning in something.
Okay. And are those going back to our goal?
Yes.
Okay. Will they be requiring students to think, understanding? Okay. All right. And how will we assess the students to show growth?
Exit tickets, quick checks, observations.
Hey, how you doing?
Exit tickets, quick checks, observations.
Maybe through small groups.
Okay. How do they provide insight into the students' thinking and understanding of the goal?
We provide
So we're going to create some assessments. And the assessments we create, when we go to select our questions, we want them to be able to come up with some insight to let us know what the kids are thinking or they're understanding. So if we do that, how do they provide insight?
We'll be able to see if they're able to apply what they've learned. We'll be able to see if they're understanding how to solve the problems as far as like following an algorithm or using strategies that they're taught in class.
So if they're able to apply all the strategies and the algorithms, you think they would answer the understanding? Okay. Are the learning targets embedded with the goals?
Yes.
Okay. Talk to me about providing multiple opportunities for students to show their work and explain their thinking, because we're going to start selecting some questions. So if we was to begin creating our assessments, and we have to come up with that particular, that's the parameter, the questions in which we select for this pre-assessments, how are they going to explain and show the students their thinking and their work?
Asking them to justify their answer, like having problems that have them justify, and asking them like questions like which person is right and why do you think they're right. So explaining their thinking.
Okay. So we want them to be able to defend it as well.
Right.
Okay. And finally, what's our timeline for giving this assessment?
Well, starting with the pre-assessment, we would like to give it on Monday.
Okay. And when will we have time to look over the data? When will we meet to analyze the data?
Tuesday or Wednesday.
Okay. Tuesday, you won't be there, so we can't analyze the data if you're not there.
I can call you and analyze.
Yeah, you can call me analyze, but with that, we want to kind of get together and look at it. Is there any way possible if we give this assessment on Monday, if you give it prior to us meeting during your plan time? Or then we can give the assessment earlier Monday, and then when we get together during your prep time, we can analyze the work. And then after we finish that, then we can start with the planning session. Okay. All right, Ms. Davis, thank you so very much. I appreciate that.